Let's come to order. Welcome everybody to our, what I think will be our last search meeting. This is a process really that started back in November when Mr. Gill let us know that he did not want a contract extension. And so we've done our best, along with a lot of help from TSBA, Randall Bennett, and Ms. Michaels, to get this search underway in a timely and we hope an efficient manner. And presuming that we're able to come to some conclusion tonight, I will be pretty pleased with the way that the process unfolds, and I hope the rest of the board feels that way, and the community feels that way. I mean, I think we've done everything we could to make this a transparent and a smooth process. I also think I can speak on behalf of the board in saying that we had a remarkably strong pool of applicants, both the four, or including the four finalists, and also a couple of folks who did not make the final four, were exceptionally strong candidates. And so we had really an embarrassment of riches from which to choose tonight. So it would be very difficult for us to go wrong, I think, at this stage. Mr. Tackett, you said that the other night, I think.
I did, and when you finish, I'd like to just add a tag to it if I can.
Why don't you do that right now?
I think we, as a system, all people involved, the teachers, supervisors, principals, so forth, I think we should take it as a real compliment that we've had the people that choose to want to be a part of our system and really look at that as a real plus for them. So I think we should all take that as a compliment to the County Commission, the citizens of Murfreesboro. It's a great place to live, and I think that's kind of what we saw communicated back through these interviews.
Right. Thank you. Other general comments? Well, we got really two orders of business tonight. First and foremost is to decide who we want to offer this job to. Secondly, we need to hash out a couple of the remaining issues on the contract. And we talked about that at a couple of stages prior to this, so we're pretty far along, I think, in getting the contract where we want it, but we will need to discuss a couple of items. But first, at this point, I'm open to motions, comments, suggestions about who you'd like to see be the next director.
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
I move that we offer the superintendent position to Mr. Don Odom.
Thank you.
I'll second that position.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Discussion.
I'd just like to comment that and reiterate what you said about having such strong candidates, and I was very grateful to have two very strong candidates, from our system, and I thought Ms. Barnes and Dr. Wright exemplified professionalism and knowledge and commitment to education, and thoroughly enjoyed the interview process. Of course, it was long, but I think we hung on every word that the candidates shared with us. And again, just what a great interviews.
Yes, sir. Other comments?
I'd like to make a comment.
Donald.
No, I just, when I left after the interviews, I thought so much about our system and our people, and we had four good candidates, but we had two, in my mind, that were outstanding. And those two happened to be here with us week after week, day after day. And I thought just what that meant to the people of Rutherford County. I mean, we had a search that 17, 18 people applied for. It came down to 4. And in my mind, the two top candidates were right here with us. And I just thought that said so much about the Rutherford County school system. And it made me very proud and honored to be a part of it. And I hope the people that are employed system realize what they do have. Hard work, yes, but the outcome has just been, just outstanding. Very pleased.
Yep, thank you, Don. I agree with all that. Other discussion? Did somebody inform Aaron of what the motion on the floor is to offer this position to Mr. Odom? Other discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion is adopted unanimously. So, Mr. Don Odom, assuming we come to terms, will be the next director of schools. So, let's give him a round of applause. Mr. Odom, would you like to say anything? And probably ought to come sit next to Joyce so that we can. Our podium is missing for some reason.
They won't.
I am honored that the board would express the confidence in me to head up this school system. My heart is here. Your heart is here. We are a high-achieving system, but I want to express a lot to the administrators, to the teachers that are there, to the central office personnel that's here. It's not a one-person accomplishment for Rutherford County to be where we are. It's working together, and it would be my plan to continue to work with this team, build this team, so that we can still be a very strong school system within the state of Tennessee and the United States. I look forward to the opportunity.
Well, we're very excited to have you. Again, it was a difficult choice, Ms. Barnes. We all have the highest regard for you. I hope you know that. And we had some other fine candidates as well, but we're pleased with this outcome and enthusiastic about the prospect of you being director. So, thank you. All right. At this time, I think we're ready to have, it's sort of weird to have a contract discussion when Donna's actually in the room with us. Donna, just put your hands like this over your ears. I asked Mr. Reed to come and sort of brief us. I think as I said earlier, we've already had some discussion about the contract. I want Jeff to go through the process from here with us. So, Jeff?
Well, as the board knows, you've been through a long process now, so it's taking a while to get to the point we are. The contract we've talked about a couple of times. So what we did, we took the original contract that you have currently in place with Mr. Gill, and we made some modifications, changes to it to address the comments several of the board members made during the meetings here that we've had prior to this one tonight. There's a draft that's been circulated among board members. You can take a look at that, and if you have any further comments, you can give those back to me. We can try to incorporate any additional comments you have. There are a couple of remaining terms, which are major terms, that we need to resolve and decide what the board wants to do about. One is the term of the contract. Under state law, we can go up to 4 years with respect to the director of schools contract. So there's been some discussion about maybe having a 2-year contract. Some of the board members have suggested they may want to do a 3-year contract. So that is one term that the board members need to vote on tonight and decide what you want to do and give me some idea which direction you want to go in that with regard to the term. With regard to the second item that we need to discuss is salary. As the board members know, under the current contract, there's a base salary. Then there have been some increases over time to the base salary, and on top of that, there were some career ladder incentives paid and some other type of supplements paid that brought the salary up. And as the board will recall, basically what we've been told by the state is our salary that we've been paying the director of schools has been relatively low compared to the size of the school district we have. So the consensus from the state has been that our salary has not been commensurate with respect to the level of the school population that we have and the school district of this size. So there's been some discussion I've heard about maybe making the compensation a bit simpler and maybe just putting a fixed amount on it and putting say this is the fixed sum for the salary. And certainly we can do that, and if the board chooses to do that, that's something within your power to do. So the two issues then we have that we'd like to get some guidance on are, one, what sort of term the board would envision for the director of schools contract, and secondly, what salary would you want to pay? So those two issues.
Let me ask you, Jeff, on the term, if we offer a longer term than Mr. Odom wants, he's not entering into indentured servitude, right? If he wants to,
No, with respect,
he wants to leave early,
Yeah.
we'll let him?
yeah, with respect to term, there's going to be provisions in the term, say, in the event, for any reason, both of you decide mutually to terminate the contract earlier, you can do that. If one party decides to terminate the contract earlier, you can do that. If the board decides to terminate it prior to the end of the 3-year term, though, and you terminate it without cause, then at that point you would be obligated to compensate the director through the end of the term.
Right.
So, and there are provisions in the event for disability and so forth that allows the board to terminate the contract in that case.
Okay. Other questions on, let's handle the term first. Any questions on that?
I guess, maybe a question, historically, what has been the pattern? None of us have ever done this, so we're not bound by the historically what has been done, but, is
Good question.
there,
Mr. Gill's contract was a 2-year contract originally. So originally his was a 2-year contract with the right to renew it if the board saw fit to renew it. But you always have that right to renew a contract should you choose it, regardless of whether that language is in the contract or not.
Does TSBA have a position on that? I wonder. I mean, 2 seems awfully short for an initial contract to me, but I don't know. Terry?
Just my thinking, which I went over this contract, studied this thing pretty good. I'm more in favor of a 3-year contract. I know this isn't the case here, but if we had an out of towner moving here, somewhere from somewhere else, up in their family and moving, I don't think we're gonna get anybody for 2 years. But I know that's not the case here. I'm just more in favor of 3 years.
Okay.
And I agree with Terry. I think if we were offering to someone outside the system, you'd have to go more than 2 years. And I think what's good for someone that would be coming in, with someone we already have, we ought to play it the same way. So I agree with Mr. Hodge. I would go for 3.
Don?
I think a 2-year contract is enough. And with the option to renew, you always have that option to renew. And if you start, in my opinion, the preceding director of schools was 2 years. I think the preceding director of that was 2 years, and the preceding of that was 2 years. Isn't that correct?
They have historically been 2 years, yes.
Historically. And I think in this situation, there's no need to change. You've got the option to renew 1 year, and you do that usually 6 months prior to the end of that contract. So actually, you're extending 18 months every time. And I feel comfortable with that. I think directors undoubtedly in the past have felt comfortable with that, because I don't know if we've ever had one to turn down a contract.
Okay.
So I stick with that.
All right. Other comment?
Donald has the advantage of having been here forever, so and he remembers everything. But the other thing we've got to remember is this is a negotiation process. We can give Mr. Reed direction, but then he is going to negotiate for us. So, so what we're doing is not, basically concreting anything. We're literally giving him a consensus.
That's right.
With the historic precedent as well, being 2 years, and the fact that it is advice toward negotiation, I think a beginning point of 2 years is the appropriate place.
Let's see, who hadn't spoken on this? Tim and Grant. We have 2 for 2 and 2 for 3. Grant, do you have an opinion?
2 would be fine.
2? Tim?
I'm not gonna buggy whip anybody over either one of them.
Thank you for that. 2 or 3. Nice attempted dodge there, but
Take a stance. Well, you know, I think both points are well made. You know, if it was someone from out of town, you might have a difficult time doing that. At the same time, if the historical place is in place historically that we've done 2 years, I certainly am comfortable with that.
okay. That sounded like 2.
My answer's a little shorter, I believe.
And I prefer 3, but it sounds like it's 4 for 2 and 3 for 3. So Jeff, if you'll take 2 to Mr. Odom and
I will take 2.
commence discussions, and obviously we might have to revisit that. Actually, we could just wait while y'all talked right now. No. Reality TV's big now, isn't it? I mean, this could be a whole new series. I'm sensing not a lot of enthusiasm for my idea. Okay, salary.
Let me try again.
At least you got the ball rolling. So yeah, try again.
Try again. And look at these salaries on directors of other schools, and in relation with what Mr. Gill's making currently right now, I think he's almost 142, 141.5 with everything involved with it. I'll throw a number out, and you know, this is a flat number. If there's career money or whatever, you know, in total, I want to include in.
Can I ask a question while you're doing that?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
On career money, is that will that have to be a required separate amount?
No, the way it's set up, since the board contracts directly with the director of schools, we can provide in the contract whatever you want to provide with respect to compensation. So you're not automatically getting your career ladder money as a director of schools by virtue of you having an independent separate contract with the board. Now there is I think the state does offer $1,000 incentive money if the director of schools goes take some seminars and get some certification from the state. That money will still be available regardless of what this board does in terms of salary. So that money from the state is really an incentive for the director of schools to basically get some further training and qualifications. So that money will still be paid. So whatever number you set will not include that $1,000 from the state.
Well, he's only got 43 years experience, so he probably needs some more training.
And I agree with Terry.
Yeah, we're trying to get one, I think I'm speaking for Terry, and I shouldn't do that, but we're trying to get one truth in advertising number that encompasses everything except that 1,000 that Jeff mentioned. Is that right, Terry?
That's correct.
All we need now is a figure.
Well, the figure, and I'll throw the figure out, and there's a little bit more to it. I figure a figure of 140,000. That's everything. No increases the first year, second year, and any other years after that, they would be entitled to the same increase we give it the certified or classified. So the first year, you know, if we come along here in July or August, have extra money or something and give an increase, the salary would still be one.
You're talking about this budget year,
This comes.
but the next budget, he'd get whatever we got,
Correct.
gave the certified, okay? Discussion.
I would concur. And also note that as we in this district continue to educate our children several hundreds of dollars less than the state average, we'll also be paying our director of schools several thousands of dollars less than a lot of systems who do not perform as well as we do and do not have the diversity that we do, and just our system is best.
Don?
They're just not getting their money's worth, are they?
No. No, sir.
You know, Don, I want you to remember that I second that motion.
So remember the good, not what you're about to say, is that what? Okay.
You know, I agree, one figure is, it's a good, clean number. There's no having to guess what we're doing, and I think that's a good figure. That's a little less than what our current director is making, just slightly, but only about 3 days worth, but it is a little less. And I think that's okay. And, but, Mr. Chairman, comparing this system with other systems, you know, TSBA, they did that. You know, that just doesn't hold water to me. Let's deal with what we have to deal with and make our decisions based upon what's best for Rutherford County and our school system. And I think Terry's made a good presentation there with that figure.
Okay.
Well said.
Other comments?
What is the nature of the language in the current contract that allows for it to be adjusted specifically in pay for system-wide increases?
Well, the prior contract simply said that the board could every year evaluate the director of schools' salary. So the prior contract did not have an automatic provision in it that gave the director of schools an automatic increase commensurate with what certified employees got. And that has happened from time to time in practice, but that was not the language of the contract. It was just a general provision saying the board would evaluate the board of director of schools' salary on an annual basis. So we can plug in a provision, as Mr. Haas has suggested, so that any future increases will be tied to be equal to the same increases as those provided to other certified employees if the board chose to do that. Now, beyond that, the board can always go back and amend the contract. So for some reason, if you want it, as long as the director of schools agreed to it, and there was another increase you wanted to provide or some modification you wanted to make subject to director of schools agreement, you could come back and amend the contract.
Can I just say, it wasn't in the contract, but this board at some point made it clear that and I'm not sure if it was a formal vote or just a statement of our intentions, was that every time the certified staff got a raise, the director would get that same percentage raise. And so that, I guess it wasn't contractual, but it was certainly our operating procedure. I think the goal now is, if we're still of a mind to do that, we would put it in the contract.
My concern is that the director of schools position is a unique position, and as such, it has a unique employment situation, a contract of multiple years, a contract with certain provisions, and a contract with a pay rate that is perhaps 40% above its closest competitor. As such, I really kind of think, again, as a beginning place for negotiations, that the current language would be acceptable to start and see where the negotiations come to. The current specific language that allows for specific board action and only specific board action to increase the pay.
Okay. Shall we do the figure first and then let's settle on the figure, and then we'll take that up. And that might be something that we don't actually settle tonight, but that's a good point of discussion, right? Other questions about the figure itself? Are you happy with us tasking Jeff with taking that figure to Mr. Odom? I'm sensing happiness.
Yes.
Okay. Or something. You didn't look very happy, no, but I was using my mental powers there. Okay, now on this question of automatic or non-automatic.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I just, if I heard you say, if we do or do not put the language in there that says we're going to tie the director to whatever raises the other personnel get, I did hear you say that we also would have the power to annually review and do something more if we chose to.
You can do that, yes.
And here's my conundrum in the thing. On the one side, I think to the past director, to pay someone more than we paid him for doing a really good job seems difficult for me to. On the other side, I do think at some point in time we're going to need to make a visionary move toward getting the salary up a little bit more in line with what is paid across some other systems within the state. And I'd like to be in that position if we see within a year's time that we see the kind of leadership that we expect to have that opportunity to maybe incrementally begin to shift that thing up, so that we're not put in a position at some future point to maybe have to bump something $40,000 to get the person in here we want. I don't know if that will ever happen or not, but that's kind of where I'm at.
But we could still do that no matter what,
Right.
by doing it.
That's separate from this automatic.
Right. So,
I would just like to be open about the idea that
Sure.
within a year's time, if things are doing what we like to do, I'd like to see us be in a position to look at that as making some type of a bump there to make that happen.
Okay. Further discussion? I don't know that I sense a consensus on the automatic versus non-automatic. Terry's automatic,
I'm automatic.
I'm automatic. That's a consensus. So Jeff, if you'll suggest that also.
Very well.
Anything else that we need to decide tonight?
Nothing tonight.
So going forward, the process, I know it's on the agenda for this week's meeting.
We
That
do
seems
it?
awfully
Yes.
quick.
Yes. Well, we have the contract on the agenda for the work session tomorrow night and
Yeah.
Wednesday night's normal standard meeting. Of course, we'll take the board's discussions and contents and put those in a contract form, present that to Mr. Odom for his comments. Depending on how quickly we get those comments back from Mr. Odom, we might be in a position to approve the contract on Wednesday night.
Okay.
And to see how the discussions go.
Okay.
If there are comments back that require further board input, I may need to come back to you guys for further guidance as to what you want to do.
So do you need, so you have the input from us that you need
I
right
do
now?
at this point.
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Wayne?
And I think this is appropriate since we've decided on our new leadership that we would be remiss not to continue to thank Mr. Gill for his leadership and the team that he has assembled for all these years and the growth and the success that we've had under his leadership, and would like to continue to thank him for what he's done for the system too.
I agree. Thank you, Wayne. Tim?
Am I correct that we have, I know we've discussed, is there a built-in time frame here that we will have a 2-week or so overlap where we will actually have the new director of school in position while Mr. Gill is still under contract?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, we floated that as a possibility when there was a chance it might be an outside person. I'm not sure, and that might be something that you talk about with Mr. Odom, is how he sees the transition going and what the date would be and that sort of. So I personally, now again, I'm speculating that there wouldn't be that sort of a need in this case, but I could be wrong.
Why don't we discuss that with Mr. Odom, get his
Yeah.
thoughts on the matter, maybe talk to Mr. Gill about it as well.
Right.
And then come back to the board and give you our thoughts.
I mean, it could be he would want a couple of weeks
Yeah.
not doing the instruction job to get ready
Right.
to do the other job. I mean, we'll just have to wait for that conversation. That's a good question, Tim. Anything else? I want to thank all the board members for their hard work during this process. We've had a lot of meetings and spent a lot of time reviewing files, and the interviews last week I thought went quite well. So I think we can all be happy with this outcome, and congratulate Mr. Odom and congratulate the district. With that, we are adjourned.